Krishna everyone. So today we are going to study the 15th chapter, 7th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. So, mama means my, eva means certainly, angshah means a fragmental particle, jivaloke in the world of conditional life, jiva bhutah the conditioned living entity, sanatanah eternal, manah with the mind, shashthani the six, indriyani means the senses, prakriti in the material nature, sthani situated, karashati is struggling hard. Translation by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Now, in this verse, Krishna is telling the living entities in this conditioned world. What does the conditioned world refers to? The conditioned world refers to this material world, which is conditioned, and the living entities are addressed as conditioned souls. Why the living entities addressed as conditioned souls? Because that living entity is not working according to the desires of Krishna, or that living entity, they do not serve Krishna, they deny the authority of the scriptures and the Supreme Lord. And that is why they are said to be as conditioned souls. And these conditioned souls, because they are not serving Krishna, they are denying the authority of the Supreme Lord and the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, and they have turned their face away from Krishna. That is the reason that they are living the conditioned life, and they are living in this conditioned world. So that is why those living entities who are away from Krishna, they do not want to go to Krishna, they deny the authority of Krishna. They are said to be as conditioned souls who are living a conditioned life. Now in this particular verse, Krishna is talking about our own entanglement in this material world. Krishna is describing our identity, that who are we. So in this verse, the keyword here is Anksha. Anksha means that we are the fragmental parts of Krishna, eternally separated fragmental parts of Krishna. So there are many people who say that I am God or anything. They say like that, but actually our identity is that we are eternally separated from Krishna, eternally separated part and parcel of Krishna. We actually belong to Krishna. We are Krishna's part and parcel. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Jivera Swarupa hoy Nitya Krishna Das, Krishnera Tatashta Shakti Bhedavet Prakash. That means that the original identity of a living entity is that it is Krishna's part and parcel. It is Krishna's Tatashta Shakti. It is Krishna's marginal potency. Krishna has three types of energies, three types of potencies. One is internal potency, one is external potency, and one is a potency, an energy of Krishna, which neither comes to the internal potency nor it comes to the external potency, and that is the Tatashta Shakti, that is the marginal potency of Krishna. Margin. So the name itself suggests what it can be. So the living entities, they come in between. They are neither Krishna's internal energy nor Krishna's external energy. The living entities have two options. Either they can be attracted by Krishna's external energy, that is the Maya Devi, that is this material nature, or they can be attracted to Krishna's internal potency, that is bhakti, that is devotional service. So the living entities, they are meant to serve Krishna. They were created, they were manifested by Krishna just to serve him. So even though we think that we have no connection with God, but actually Krishna is telling us that we are the eternally separated part and parcels of Krishna. So we belong to Krishna. So here Krishna is saying about that. Now the living entities in this material world, actually they are serving the external potency of Krishna. So the living entities, they are meant to serve. So they are either serving the external potency of Krishna, or they are serving the internal potency of Krishna. When the living entities, they serve the external potency of Krishna, that is they are working under the modes of the material nature, that is serving the external potency of Krishna. So that is not bhakti, and that serving of external potency of Krishna is actually bounding that living entity to this material world, and that is the reason that why the living entity is suffering here. Then if the living entity is serving the internal potency of Krishna, that is that the living entity is working under the desires of Krishna or for the pleasure of Krishna, then those activities that do not bound the living entity into this material world. But now here the question can be asked that if the living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, then why the living entity is suffering in this material world, in this conditioned life? Now Krishna is spiritual, and our original identity is also spiritual, right? But why we are suffering here in this material world? In the second chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that we are the souls. We are not this body, but we are the souls. We are the souls, and this soul actually belongs to Krishna. But then why the living entity is living a conditioned life? The answer is given by Krishna that his conditioned life, the living entity is leading a conditional life because of his five senses headed by the mind. Now the five senses drags the living entity to do various activities for his own pleasure, and those activities which are done for our own pleasure bound us to this material world. These five senses are headed by the mind. These are controlled by the mind, and the mind drags us into this material world. The mind is controlled by the three modes of the material nature: Sattvagun, Rajogun and Tamogun. So Sattvagun means the mode of goodness. When the mind is in the mode of goodness, then the activities of that person are good. When the mind is in the mode of passion, that is Rajogun or Rajasic, then the activities of that person are troublesome. And when the mind is in the mode of ignorance, that is Tamasic, that is Tamoguni, then the mind drives that living entity into the lower species of the life. So it is very clear that the conditioned soul here is covered by the material body with the mind and the senses, and when he is liberated, this material covering perishes, but his spiritual body manifests itself in the individual capacity. Now when a person gets spiritual body, with that spiritual body one can face to face see Krishna, talk to Krishna, then be with Krishna, spend time with Krishna. When that person gets a spiritual body in the spiritual, now it is not possible for the living entity to see Krishna directly with the naked eye. It is not at all possible, and that is the reason why Krishna, out of his extreme compassion for the living entities, he manifests or he appears in the form of deity, so that the living entities present in this material world can serve him, and by serving him, one fine day the living entity can get liberated from this material body which is conditioned. So the mind here is the chief agent which is driving in this material existence. So the word karshati means struggling or grappling hard is very significant, because the living entity chooses to stay apart from Krishna. That is the reason that the living entity is suffering in this material world. Now the Prakriti, in this material world, the living entity is driven by the false ego. What is the false ego? That I am the doer of all my activities. That is the false ego. And what is the real ego? That the real ego is that actually Krishna is controlling our all activities, either by the three modes of the material nature, either by the external potency, or by the internal potency. So when we are controlled by Krishna's internal potency, that is when we actually understand that we are not the doer of our activities. Actually, Krishna is the doer of all our activities. But when we are in the mode of Krishna's external potency, that is the three modes of the material nature, we are actually illusioned by the three modes of the material nature, and we think ourselves to the doer of all our actions. And when we think ourselves, when we have this doership mentality, that is when we are bound to this material world and we are falsely proud on ourselves. So Krishna, he does not like proud living entities. He loves humble people, humble living entities, or the devotees of the Lord are naturally humble. Why they are humble? Because they understand that we are not the doer, but actually Krishna is the doer of all our activities. Now, the liberated living entity, or the devotees of the Krishna, or the Vaishnavas, we can say, so they actually see the entire world as their family. Why do they see that? Because of this reason. Because we living entities, all the living entities, are actually eternally separated parts and parcels of Krishna. So for a normal person, their family is their world. But for a Krishna conscious person, the entire world is their family. Now, an example is given, a very famous example about a fire and the spark. Now, Krishna, he is the supreme unlimited fire, and we living entities, we are the tiny spiritual sparks of that fire. So, or there is another example that Krishna, he is like the ocean, but we are the drop of the ocean. Right? Krishna is the ocean, and we living entities are the drop of that ocean. So, qualitatively, we and Krishna, we are the same, because Krishna is the ocean and we are just a small part of that ocean. Or Krishna is the gold and we are just a small particle of that gold. So qualitatively, we and Krishna, we both are same. But quantitatively, we are different, because the ocean is so large and the drop of water is so small. It is so small. So if the drop of water stays to live separated from Krishna, or separated from that ocean, then the drop slowly but surely, it gets evaporated with the sun rays, or with the heat. With the sun rays, the drop of that water evaporates completely. But if that drop of water is present in the ocean of Krishna, then the sun does not have any kind of strength to evaporate that entire water. So that is why the living entities, we are materially different, but spiritually, we living entities, we all are same. We are part of Krishna, but we choose to stay apart from him. Our material ambitions are something which is keeping Krishna away from us, and that is why we struggle. So here in this verse, it is written, struggle is referred to as karshati. A drop of ocean is happy as long as it is present in the ocean and is connected to it. But as soon as it is apart from the ocean, then the drop struggles and gets dried up. Now, in this from this particular verse, we must also not misunderstand and think that Krishna is threatening us. It is not a threatening verse. Krishna is not scaring us, or Krishna is not, forcing us to do this or do that. Krishna is supremely independent, right? He is Swarat. Janmadyasya yato anvayad itaratas charateshu abhignya Swarat. Janmadyasya yato anvayad itaratas charateshu abhignya Swarat. He is Swarat. He is supremely independent. And we are being the small fragmental portions of Krishna. We are the small drops. We are like the small drops from the ocean of Krishna. We are qualitatively same. So if Krishna is supremely independent, we are also independent, but our independence is very little. Our independence is not supreme like Krishna, because even though we are qualitatively same, but quantitatively we both are different. So Krishna is supremely independent, Krishna is Swarat, but we living entities, we are not supremely independent. We are still dependent on Krishna. So Krishna, he gives us little independence, and with the little independence we can choose. Either we can stay in this material world and suffer here, or either we can stay in our spiritual world and serve their Krishna eternally and remain happy, remain in eternal bliss. So Krishna is giving us choice. But we living entities, we are in this world because we have chosen to stay apart from Krishna. But Krishna is so kind that even though we we choose to stay apart from Krishna, then also he is again and again sending his devotees, or he himself is coming as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take us back home, back to Godhead. In a song, Tomare loite ami hoinu abotar. In the Bengali song, Bengali Vaishnav song, it is said that Tomare loite ami hoinu abotar. That means that to take you to to help you to cross the ocean of this material existence, I have taken an avatar, I have incarnated to take you back to the spiritual world, to take you back from the material world to the spiritual world. So Krishna, out of his extreme compassion, he as a caring father, he comes to take take his children back home, back to Godhead. So Krishna is not threatening us. Krishna is just showing us that we are not happy in this world, that the living entities are not at all happy in this world, and they will be happy, they will be only happy in the spiritual world. So for example, if a father and a child goes to a marketplace, and if the father asks the child to hold his hand and asks the child to do all the activities by asking him only, then it does not mean that the father is threatening the child, but the father is telling the child, is ordering or requesting the child to do so just for the benefit of that child. So the father is showing his love and affection for that child. If we neglect him, we struggle due to our mind and senses together. We have some value because we are connected to Krishna. Now just like there is a screw in the machine. The screw in the machine has value, is important only till when it is connected to the machine. So the machine is Krishna, but the screw is us. So we have got some value only if we are connected to that machine. But if we are separated from that machine, or if we or if we are apart from that machine, then we have no value. So similarly, Krishna is supremely independent, and we have also got our some minute independence. Now out of the minute independence, now out of the minute independence, suppose if a fish gets out of the water, and if that fish is offered variety of things like video games, or some nice foodstuffs to eat, or any other kind of pleasure for that fish, will that fish be happy? No. Why? Because that fish is taken out of water, and the water of that fish is its life. Now once again I will repeat that if a fish, out of its minute independence, if the fish gets out of the water and is offered gold, wealth, food, etc., will it be happy? No. Why? Because a fish is happy only when it stays in water. If the fish stays in water, it does not need any kind of food, any kind of wealth or gold or etc. It does not need anything. So the water is Krishna and the fishes are us. So we are like the fishes, and we actually cannot stay away from Krishna. And in this present time, we are away from Krishna. Actually, we cannot be away from Krishna because Krishna is like a concerned father. He still is in our heart. Krishna, he enters into the heart of all the living entities as Kshiradakashai Vishnu or Kshiradakashai Vishnu, and he eternally stays in our heart. Krishna is present in all the atoms, all the molecules, everywhere. But still, if we think that we are apart from Krishna, if we do not establish that connection with Krishna, then even though we are offered so many things for our happiness, then also we would not be able to keep ourselves happy. If we living entity, we misuse our independence, then we become a conditioned soul. And if we living entity, if we correctly use our independence, then we become liberated souls. So independence without knowledge or without guidance of Krishna or his devotees is very dangerous. If we Now, when the living entity is influenced by the three modes of the material nature, or the living entity is influenced by the Maya Devi, then the living entity forgets the transcendental loving service to the Lord. Now, as a result, that living entity has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in this material world. Now, even this is not applicable only to human beings nor the cats and dogs, but every living entity, including Lord Brahma, then Lord Shiva, and even Lord Vishnu. They are the part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, but they are eternal. They are not the temporary manifestations. So this is for today. Hare Krishna.